this webinar program. I normally work with Zoom. Okay, thank you. You can hear me. Thank you so much. So I normally work with Zoom. So it's the first time I'm using this HQ webinar. So we're going to see how it goes. So welcome and thank you for signing up for this Mindset Breakthrough webinar. And so today, like I said, we're going to talk a lot about emotional intelligence. So why emotional intelligence? The reason I chose emotional intelligence between all the programs and all the certificates I did is because I could talk to you about your mindset. I could talk to you about mindfulness. I could teach you how to build your confidence and all those things, but it's not going to last if your emotional intelligence level is very low, because your emotional intelligence shows your success rate. It lifts you up and helps you to be more successful in the things that you do in life. So we're going to go through this and going to tell you a little bit more about that. And then at the end of the webinar, we're going to have the prize draw for the free 6-week coaching with $745. So, hello, if you don't know me yet, I'm Linda, and I'm here because I want to help you break through some barriers and keep you back, and I want to help you to take your power back. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. In 2016, my husband died, and he didn't leave me any money to pay for everything. I had a lot of debt. I inherited property debt and all those things. And so it's not because he was a bad person. It's because the insurance we had didn't cover his death. So I was stuck with all this debt to pay and no income to pay it with. So I lost everything we built up together in the 24 years that we were married. And so I had to recover from that. And then one day I was working with a lady on business, growing my business, but she's a mindset and business coach. And as we were working on the one-on-one session, it came out that all the businesses I tried to build weren't successful because I was moving far away from what I was actually supposed to do, which is life coaching. My hubby and I did Marriage Ministries International, where we did marriage courses with people, and he was like a pastor. He always preached to everybody, always helped everybody, and I was like in his shadow, but I loved it there. I would rather be in his shadow and just help with certain things that only a woman can help with. So obviously I couldn't do marriage counseling anymore because I'm not married anymore after he died. So in the conversation with this woman, it came out that I'm actually still supposed to help people. That's my life calling. That's what I'm supposed to do. So what I did was I did my certifications in life coaching, and I still keep on doing certifications in life coaching. As I finish one, I start a new one. So I'm overqualified, but I'm happy with it. I have lots of programs I can help with in almost any area you can think of. I did my certifications, just to give you an idea, in life purpose, happiness, goal setting, mindfulness, transformation, CBT, REBT. I have to look because I can't remember them. Confidence, emotional intelligence, changing your life story, forgiveness, which is a big one. And so I've done a lot of certifications. And the reason is because I want to help people on so many levels, because we've got so many things. I even did international coaching. So that is to help you. And I once heard a great story of a guy who told of this man who fell into a hole, and a doctor came along and he asked him, can he help him? And he said, did he break anything? He said, no, he doesn't feel like he's hurt. And then the doctor wrote him the prescription, threw it down the hole and said, I'll come back in a week to check up on you. And then another guy came past, and it was a psychiatrist, and he said to the guy, he asked him a few questions and he wrote in his notepad. And then after half an hour, his bell went off and he said, oh, time's up. I'll be back in a week. And he threw down his bill. And then another guy came past and he said to him, what can I help you? And he said, no, I'm stuck in this hole and I don't know how to get out. And then the guy said to him, wait, I've been in this hole. I'll be there just now. And then he climbed down and he said to him, but now we're both stuck. And then he said, no, I know the way out. I'll show you. So that's what a life coach does, is we show you the way out. We're not a psychiatrist and we're not a doctor and we're not a therapist either. So we just guide you through these things. So let's go over to what is emotional intelligence, the reason you are here today. So let's just look at the quote. The emotional brain responds to an event more quickly than the thinking brain. This is a Daniel Goleman quote, and you're going to learn a little bit more about Daniel Goleman in a minute. And so what is emotional intelligence? The term emotional intelligence was created by researchers Peter Salovey and John Mayer. It was then made popular to the masses in the mid-90s by a book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. This is quite a thick book, but it's very, very interesting if you want to go dive deep into emotional intelligence. Many people believe that your intelligence, or IQ as we learned it, was what determined success. In school, they always did IQ tests, and they told you according to your IQ test what you should go study or whether you should take learning subjects or math subjects or whatever. And everything was just according to your IQ. But, however, researchers were perplexed when studies found that people with average IQ outperformed those with higher IQ 70% of the time. So finally, after decades of research, researchers found that emotional intelligence, also referred to EQ, emotional quotient, was the missing link, the critical factor in determining a person's long-term success. And that is why I concentrate on emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence has two major components, which is intrapersonal skills, which is your personal competence, and interpersonal skills, which is your social competence, which has more to do with others. And then your intrapersonal skills, it is your ability to be aware of your own moods, emotions, motives, and to be able to manage and redirect them and your behaviors. And this also requires your ability to be flexible, think before you react, and be open to change, and know how your emotions affect others. Interpersonal skills is comprised of social awareness, your ability to manage relationships, and in other words, it's your ability to understand others' moods, behaviors, and motives, and develop an understanding of the core of an issue. It also refers to your ability to manage and influence others' emotions and interact successfully by empathizing with people and being able to react and treat people according to their reactions. Interpersonal skills help people rebuild rapport, find common ground, and connect with others. If I take, for instance, after my hubby died, I was very down. If I went to the shops, I would look at people like they're bad or whatever, and never smile at anyone, and even be rude to the cashier, but not because I'm not a rude person, not rude, but and all that was because of my emotional state. And if you can think how that cashier took it, is like, oh, she doesn't like me, there must be something wrong with me. But actually it's because my husband died, so sometimes you get in connection with people and it seems like there's something wrong, or they don't like you, or they despise you or something, but it's something to do with their own life. So this is what interpersonal skills also helps with. And keep in mind that 80% of communication is nonverbal. So our ability to read the subtle nuances of others' actions gives us better understanding of their thoughts and feelings. Like I said, when I went to the shops and I was looking so down, and I don't think I need that in my ear, except if someone's going to say something. So when I went to the shops, my attitude was not good. And other people could have misinterpreted that, not knowing what's going on in my life. So let's take a deeper look at emotional intelligence. Some people are born with a higher degree of emotional intelligence. However, anyone can learn the skills and develop higher emotional intelligence throughout their life. What allows us to learn and integrate emotional intelligence skills is brain plasticity, which is your brain's ability to change and adapt by growing new neural connections. This is so awesome. And then, in fact, if you lose half of your brain with training and treatment, the other half of your brain can rewire itself to reestablish most abilities that were lost. However, rewiring your brain, just as much as learning emotional intelligence, takes time and your ability to practice new skills repeatedly. So let's take a look at developing emotional intelligence. Developing your emotional intelligence requires communication between two parts of the brain. Your limbic system, which is your emotional center, and your prefrontal cortex, which is your rational thinking center. We'll talk a little bit more about this later, but for now it's important to know that emotional intelligence is like a muscle. The more you use the skill, the more it will develop. And by developing your emotional awareness, you'll develop your ability to control your own emotions as well as influence the emotions of others. And by developing emotional awareness, you'll develop your ability to control your own emotions. And this will lead you to an improved ability to problem solve, think creatively, develop relationships, to avoid stress and conflict, and best of all, to enjoy life more. So I quickly want to do this lemon exercise with you. So what I want you to do, if you're able to, if you're driving, please don't do this, but I want you to close your eyes. Now I want you to imagine I'm coming into the room with a plate full of lemons. These nice, big, juicy lemons. So I put the plate down next to you and I cut into this big, juicy lemon, and you just see the juices squirt all over the place, and you can smell this juicy, sour lemon. And so I cut it again and I give you a piece of that lemon to taste. And you put it in your mouth, and as you bite into it, those juices squirt into your mouth, and you taste those sour juices of the lemon. So now I must ask you, did you feel those salivating feeling here? Did you feel it? Did you experience it as if you tasted the lemon? Please tell me in the comments so that we can see. Let's just see. Okay, I don't know if no one's commenting, or is it, oh, someone is typing. All right. So this is an interesting exercise to see how powerful your brain actually is. And that the fact that you start salivating just goes to show that your brain is so powerful that you can actually feel it. I'm just waiting for that comment to go through before I go over to the other screen. Maybe I can continue, but the comment won't get lost, so I'll see, then you'll know it's about the lemon exercise. Anyway, so it would know whether you could feel that salivating. So now we're going to go over to understanding your emotional intelligence, strengths, and weaknesses. Let's see. Yeah, I felt like I ate a lemon. I love that emoji. It just goes to show you how powerful your mind actually is and how you can create things with your mind. So as we're going to go through this further, you will see how you can even create anxiety in your mind. So now I'm going to go over how to understand your own emotional intelligence and your strengths and weaknesses. You should have received your self-assessment questionnaire through the email. And like I said, I'm not going to ask you about it, so don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to reveal your entire assessment. This questionnaire was designed to help you evaluate your strengths and weaknesses and your overall level of emotional intelligence by applying what you learn in this webinar. And should you go with me on a 12-week program, then also how it will grow over that. So if you take this now and you take it after the 12-week program, you will see how your emotional intelligence increased over the 12 weeks. It's amazing to see that. And then, so this emotional intelligence assessment scores will increase over time, like I said, and it evaluates 5 different areas. The first 3 are intrapersonal, understanding yourself, and the last 2, interpersonal, understanding others. So let's take a deeper look at this assessment. So you should have found these words on the assessment. Let me see whether I can share the assessment. Okay, that's the other one. Let me just check. So that's the emotional intelligence one. All right. So this is the assessment. So what I'm going to go through now is this part, and then you should have taken your assessment, or if you have not taken it yet, I'll tell you how to do it. So you're going to score it, and then in the end, you're going to see where your strengths which needs attention and which needs priority at this time. And that's why I say my 12-week program, which I'm going to tell you about later on, changes according to your needs, because this differs from person to person, obviously. So let me just see. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. All right, so self-awareness. This is your ability to recognize what you are feeling. So to understand your habitual emotional responses to events and to recognize how your emotions affect your behavior and performance. And when you're self-aware, you see yourself as others see you, and you have a good sense of your own abilities and current limitations. Managing emotions, this is your ability to stay focused and think clearly, even when you're experiencing powerful emotions. We're going to talk a bit more about the brain a little later on. So this is very interesting, how you can't always think clearly when you're experiencing powerful emotions. So this is your ability to be able to manage your own emotional state. And this is essential for taking responsibility for your actions and can save you from hasty decisions that you will regret later. Then motivating yourself, this is your ability to use your deepest emotions to move and guide you towards your goals. This ability enables you to take the initiative and to persevere in the face of obstacles and setbacks. And this is important to help you keep moving forward, even though sometimes things look like they're not working out. Empathy, it's the ability to sense, understand, and respond to other people's feelings. Self-awareness is essential to have empathy with others. So if you're not aware of your own emotions, you will not be able to read the emotions of others. And then social skills is the ability to manage, influence, and inspire the emotions in others. Here we are not talking about manipulation. We are talking about helping someone to feel more positive, helping someone to believe in themselves. Being able to handle emotions in relationships and being able to influence and inspire others are essential foundation skills for success. So when you do the assessment, you can score each of the questionnaire statements. So each of those questions, you score them, where 1 does not apply at all, 3 applies sometimes, and 5 applies always. So if you've got between a 1 and a 3, then you choose a 2. And then you just total them, and then you total them at the end. This will interpret your emotional intelligence under those 5 parts. So, okay, so when you total and interpret your results and you transfer your scores to the calculation table, you will see the total of your results there, and then you will see what needs more work and so forth. Remember, this is not a psychometric test, and this test might change according to your mood. And then again, it will change over time. So did you do yours, and how was it? So if you finished your assessment and you did it, how did it work out for you? Do you feel like it was really, truly what you got out of it? Now we're going to take a look at present moment awareness. The present moment holds the key that unlocks your freedom from suffering. So many times you find people that say, when I've got that car, I'll be happy. When I moved into that house, I'll be happy. When I got that outfit, I'll be happy. So it's always when something happens, you'll be happy. So why not just be happy now, in this moment? Because when you get that car or when you get that house, you'll be happy then for how long? Because you are not living in the present moment and you are not happy in the present moment. So how long will it last when you do that or get there? So you can only feel free, peaceful, content, safe, or happy now. This now moment, in fact, is all that exists. The things we dream of and the ones we fear are nothing but a figment of the imagination. There is no future within which we will experience them. When we do experience the dream or situation we fear, it will not be in the future, it will be now. So thinking of the future can have positive and negative consequences. Dreaming of a future experience of joy can make us feel better now. However, worrying about an anticipated pain or fear in the future make us experience that suffering now. So it's not yet happening, but you feel the suffering, you feel the pain, you feel the anxiety as if it's already happening. So the trick then is to learn how to use the mind purposefully to recall memories or imagine future possibilities in a way that makes us feel good and not bad. And when we can access this ability to choose thoughts, when can we access this ability to choose our thoughts? In the future? In the past? So anyone can feel free to tell me, when can you feel free to access this ability? It is now. So you can only access the ability to choose your thoughts now. So let's take a look at imaginary suffering. Going to the future in our imagination can cause suffering. In fact, this mental time travel is ultimately the cause of anxiety. Having your mind off in La La Land while the rest of you is having it here and now separates yourself from the experience of life and enjoying life right now in this moment. One of my favorite teachers, Eckhart Tolle, refers to this distance as the anxiety gap. So think about it in your own life. When you feel anxious, isn't it usually about something in the future rather than something that's happening now? There are two ways that thinking about the future can cause anxiety and suffering. Thinking about the future can benefit your now if it feels good, like I've mentioned before, but sometimes thinking about the positive things we anticipate in the future can backfire. For the untrained mind, which refers to most of us, it is really hard not to think about what we want in the future without being acutely aware of the fact that it isn't happening yet. So let's say you think about a beautiful car that you would like to buy in the future, and you sit and you think about this. Imagine yourself driving this car, and like we teach in law of attraction. But now you start feeling, but I don't have it yet. I don't have money for that car. So where am I going to get that car? And then it starts making you feel sad. Then it's not good to go into the future, because this leaves us feeling lacking, impatient, and disappointed. So when we imagine the negative things we fear may happen in the future, we experience worry and anxiety because of the uncertainty. We also experience the emotional turmoil we believe will happen if what we fear comes true now, as if it were real, just like the lemon test, where you felt those juices squirting into your mouth, and you're feeling it now, but it is not now. So it's good to be aware of things that may come so that we can plan for how to avoid or deal with them. But when we're thinking and worrying about the future beyond what we can actually deal with, we're wasting our now moment feeling bad for no reason. And life is here to enjoy. We're supposed to be happy and enjoy life and every moment and everything we do. So worrying about the future does not help you, because how many hours can you waste worrying about now? If you take, for instance, when you had a bad day at work, or just the last 10 minutes at work was bad, and you came back home, and now you sit and you play that over and over in your mind, your mood is not going to change. Your situation or your attitude is not going to change, because you keep playing that bad movie over and over. This is where, like in the Gift of Gratitude, that 7-day program that I've got, the free Gift of Gratitude challenge, we talk about things like being grateful for what you have. Find what you have to be grateful for and think about those things, rather than thinking about what you don't have or what happened or things that keep you back. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at real life suffering. So you've got where you can think something, you can think bad things that can bring you anxiety, which you think may happen in the future, and most of the time it doesn't. But then we've got real life suffering. So this is, in some circumstances, an actual experience you find yourself in at the moment that is causing you suffering. Like you've broken your leg, you might be trapped in quicksand, which would not be now because you're watching this webinar, or you're being mistreated or abused by another person in a toxic relationship. In these cases, you will be free from the suffering once you've healed, been rescued, or that person goes away or stops, which rarely happens. However, there is another layer of suffering that happens because of our thoughts or judgment about the situation. In the moment, we are judging the situation as bad, and we are often projecting this suffering into the future as well, expecting it to continue. These thought processes add to our suffering. In these real life situations, we may not be able to do something to make it stop right now, but we can do something about the thoughts that are making the experience worse. So, for instance, if you're in a toxic relationship, what you could do is, at that moment when that breaks you down, all you can do is say, be grateful for freedom. Picture in your mind how you will feel when you're free, when you are out of this relationship. Concentrate on that feeling of freedom, that feeling of peace. So then in that moment, you can feel better. You can't always control what happens around you, but what you can control is what you do, what you feel about it. Inner things. Use yourself. that you can change. So you can't always change how people treat you. You can't always change certain circumstances that happen in life, but you can change your attitude towards it. So we can bring our awareness to the present moment. When we look at the pain, the fear, or the hurt that is happening, while also paying attention to our physical body, our breathing, and other sensations, rather than allowing our mind to judge the experience and conjure things to fear in the future. By becoming aware of the present moment, we minimize the suffering we experience. So whether you find yourself experiencing imaginary or real life suffering, become aware of the present. So I'm going to go through a process that you can use. I'm going to give you. Let me just see, is everything still connected? Yes. Okay, I lost line. Use this process I'm going to give you at any time you catch your thoughts going towards the future or the past in a way that's making you feel uncomfortable, insecure, or anxious. The more you practice catching yourself and bringing your awareness to the now, the easier it will get and the earlier you will be able to catch yourself. So this is what you do when you are in a moment where you are concentrating on the future that makes you anxious. So become aware of the moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose and release it through your mouth. Now notice your body. Notice your breathing. Appreciate your lungs and your heart. Notice the warm, tingling sensation in your hands. Feel the life in your whole body. Notice the sounds around you and appreciate how your ears interpret the vibration and allows you to experience your environment. Now notice the space in the room you're in, how the empty space allows the objects to be there. Now notice the light around you and where it's coming from. So ask yourself, what is right with this moment? What is beautiful and what do you appreciate? If you just answer for yourself, every time you feel that you are going to the future or the past, then you bring yourself back to the present moment. So why does this present awareness process work? Because if you start thinking by intentionally focusing your mind on the present moment, you stop resisting or worrying and you feel better. Doing this slows down your thinking. So now that your mind is back within your control, ask yourself, what would I prefer to think about instead? Is there a different way I can look at this topic that I feel better about? Now is a good time to repeat a positive affirmation or incantation. And be patient. This takes practice, like everything in life. I have experienced the freedom of peace in the now, where I had to say, look forward to the future of happiness. But like most people, I used to have a hard time staying there for long. I would catch my thoughts in the act, bring my attention to the moment, feel relief, and then jump right back into conjuring up future moments in my mind. Then I'd catch myself again, snap myself out of it, and focus my attention back on the now. I'd experience some relief, at least for a moment or two. But after years of practice, I can usually avoid getting sucked into my mind's future fantasies when I know they won't benefit me. Plus, I've developed the ability to imagine what I want in the future in glorious detail and to feel the joy of it happening now without the twinge of disappointment that it isn't actually happening now. This takes practice as well. And the key here is that I think about the future when it benefits me and minimize thinking about it when it doesn't. So it's just taking control of your thoughts. Another great exercise to do is to just breathe in deeply, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then think about 5 things you're grateful for. It can be your cup of coffee, it can be the place you live, the roof over your head, your children, your car, your food. It can be anything. 5 things that you're happy for about, and that can change your mood as well. So how should you think about the future? If thinking about what you want in the future causes you anxiety because you can't help focusing on not having it now, then don't do it until you practice the art of believing in your dream. Or if you can think about the future without worrying about everything that could go wrong, then stop. Then don't think about the future. For you, it would be better to focus on the present moment, not the life situation you believe exists at this period of time, the one you resist, but the actual present moment. On the other hand, if you can to focus on your immediate surroundings without your inner thinker judging all the things wrong with your current life situation, for instance, if you are in a deep hole, and the future feels like the possibility of respite, hope, or relief, you would be better off changing your focus to what you do want in the future and go there now. The key here being that you must imagine it happening now and believe it in order to eliminate any suffering. For instance, like if you're in a toxic relationship, then you can imagine your future of freedom instead of feeling what you are feeling now. But it makes you feel you are trapped, then rather not do that right now until you've learned how to handle that. So what it comes down to is to recognize recognition of choice. In this moment, if you become aware, you have the ability to choose to think about whatever makes you feel better in this moment, whether that means bringing your attention to what's happening and to the sensations of the moment. Thinking about what's happening from a more empowered perspective of dreaming of the future in a way that gives you hope or inspiration. The choice is yours, and the time to make the choice is always and will always be now. So that's why it's important to live in the present moment. And if you think about it, how many of us really live in the present moment? I think we live 80%, 90% of the time, either in the future or in the past. So we have to learn to live in the present moment. So now we're going to take a look at biological and psychological foundations. I love this part because I love reading about the brain and all the functions of the brain and all those things. So our brain is a powerful tool that is designed to be efficient and to protect us. However, there are aspects of its wiring that may be outdated in today's society, as we no longer experience the same threats we once did. I'm going to give a basic psychological foundation of some of our emotions and our body's response to them. So our fight or flight, and these days they say fight, flight, or freeze response, was designed to save our cave-dwelling ancestors from a premature death in the jaws of a saber-toothed predator. So today, humans are on top of the food chain, but we may still recognize the symptoms of fight or flight response from the last time, let's say someone cut us off in traffic, which is increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, increased oxygen in the brain, increased muscle tension, and a boost in energy supply without any coffee. So according to the Mayo Clinic, there are also a few things going on under the surface that we may not notice, but I'm sure as I mention them, you're going to know about them. Altered immune responses, suppressed digestive system, because who needs to digest food when you're running away from a saber-toothed tiger, right? Also, suppressed reproductive system and growth. Saving your own butt takes priority over survival of the species, right? According to the National Institute of Mental Health, There are other symptoms that you may be familiar with as well, which includes sudden lack of appetite, heartburn, nausea, and stomach pains. So you can recognize these in your life, I'm sure. So now we're going to take a look at the brain. The part of our brain called the limbic system is primarily responsible for our emotions. Remember I said earlier that we're going to talk about this later on? So here we are. For example, the amygdala is responsible for feelings of anxiety and fear. And if you look at that picture, that small red thing there is the amygdala. So when this part of the brain is activated because of an intense, stressful experience, our brains will simultaneously turn off another part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which helps us reason and think critically. And that's why when you're in a situation that you have fear or anxiety, you can't think clearly. And that's also why you will sometimes do things that you say later on, what was I thinking? So the problem is you weren't thinking. So once intense emotions are in full effect, your rational mind is rendered useless. And this is not because there's something wrong with you. It's because this is how your brain works. So let's take a look at emotional resilience. There have been studies that shed light on the differences in the brain activity between people who are emotionally resilient and those who are not. One of the strongest indicators of emotional resilience is our communication between the left prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. So the prefrontal cortex is critical because it tells the amygdala to quiet down by sending inhibitory signals. And this helps our negative emotions subside and go away. So studies have shown that people who have weaker connections between these two areas of the brain have more difficulties managing and regulating their emotions. And that's why, like with my program, we work on building those connections so that you can take control of your emotional intelligence. So now you may be thinking, what if that area of my brain is not well developed? Well, you are in luck. The good news is that you are not out of luck because you can build up those connections. Remember what I said about the half of the brain as well? Your brain is so powerful. It's important to keep in mind that the brain is like a muscle and that by working those areas out, you strengthen the connections. Studies have also found that people that have a positive set point have an active prefrontal cortex as well as nucleus accumbens. The nucleus accumbens is a part of the brain that is associated with pleasure and a sense of reward and motivation. People who tend to be negative have fewer neural connections between these two areas of the brain. And it is believed that this area cannot be reached through conscious thoughts. If this is true, you may ask, then does this mean I will not be able to change my emotional set point? No, in fact, you can indirectly work out those connections in your brain by practicing delaying rewards and self-restraint. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that just now, how you can practice delaying rewards. And this is going to help you to build those connections up. And also, if you take a look at my program where I take you from having low emotional intelligence to having great emotional intelligence, we do lots of exercises and things that help you to grow these connections. Okay, so this is how you do resilience practice. Find yourself checking your phone, playing mobile games on social media, have an addicting and certainly does not build this part of the brain. What does help exercise our brain is planning, using our and to practice self-control. Therefore, if you practice self-restraint and force yourself not to check your phone or social media until you finish a predetermined milestone or goal, the delayed reward will help you build an emotional muscle that will help you long term. So just keep on going on with it all until you reach that point that you decided, okay, if I reach this point, then I can go check my social media. So before you did that, you don't go check your social media. Keep in mind that as with everything, retraining our brain takes practice and consistency. So you might hear this now and then you do it for the next day or two. But it will take retraining, practice, and consistency. It took you years to get where you are now, but it's not going to take that many years to fix it. So in my program, I provide you with the tools that, if practiced consistently, will help you create and live in a better emotional state. So, did you receive your emotional identification chart in your email? Did you download it? So let's just take a look at it quickly. I'm just going to unshare this screen. And then I'm just going to find that one so that I can just quickly show you. Okay, so this, let me just make sure it's the right one. Looks like it. Okay, just see there. Yes, the emotional identification chart. This is the one you received. So there are 6 common emotions and descriptions of the emotional, psychological state and common resulting behaviors. This chart will help you give you a general idea of the signs and symptoms of each emotion to make them easier to identify. And keep in mind that everyone experiences each emotion somewhat differently. So you may find that it's different for you and you may not experience all of the characteristics. So the 6 common emotions are happiness, boredom, anxiety, anger, depression, or sadness, and fear. So you've got this chart, so you can go through the emotions, the state, and the behavior. And then as you read through them, you see in what emotional state you are. If you find yourself in a bad emotional state, then you can always answer these questions. So this is not just for now. This is when you find yourself in a bad emotional state, in a bad situation or anything, then you take this part or you have these questions with you or put them on your phone or something. And then you answer, how do I feel? How do I know? How do you know you feel this way? What do I feel? What are the sensations you feel? And then where's the location you feel? Normally it's in our stomach because the sensation is normally like anxiety or fear or anger. Anger you can also feel. Where in my body did it begin and where did it move to? How do I recognize when others experience this emotion? So how can you see it in other people? Do I notice any of these signs in myself? So when you see it, let's say in your parents, when you saw them getting angry, for instance, how did you see emotion in them? And how do you notice these signs in yourself? And what do I just observe in my body language, both tone, thoughts, or behaviors? And then what are your current emotions trying to tell you? So emotions are always to tell us something. Emotions are like red flags, trying to get your attention, to communicate to you that something in your life experience or environment needs to be addressed. Rather than trying to avoid these feelings, next time you experience a negative emotion, ask yourself these questions. And then you can identify the underlying thoughts, because normally these have some kind of underlying thought. So when you find yourself experiencing an undesirable emotion, such as uncertainty, anxiety, or fear, it will be helpful to identify what caused that emotion. Thoughts create feelings. You can always remember that. If you're feeling bad, you can just start thinking, what was I thinking? Then you will know. So you can go through these where you assess the severity of the emotion, you identify the emotion. So all these questions you can answer for yourself in your own time when you have a situation or an experience. So I gave you this chart, so you have it. You can just print it out. And like I said, you can have it on your phone. When you experience those emotions, you can go to that. Okay, so let's get back to the slides. All right, so this is just the thing I just mentioned. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at my 12-week program. So my program can change according to your needs. This will not be the same for everybody because, like I said, I did different certifications in different areas, and sometimes you might not need help with happiness, but you might need help with self-confidence. So that's where the program will change. What makes my program different from other coaching programs is that you only have your 12 one-on-one calls each week, or group calls, or one call a month and then a group call in a month. So every 2 weeks you have a call. With my program, there will be live lessons each week that will be given through Zoom. If you don't have a live lesson that week, it will be a pre-recorded video that I will be sending you, but you will receive a lesson every week. Then you will receive worksheets when needed. Not all the lessons have worksheets, but where the lessons have worksheets, you will receive the worksheets. And then you will have a one-on-one coaching call with me each week. This will be a 45-minute to an hour call that we will be working on your specific situation, where I will be coaching you through your situation at that moment. And then I'm also going to give you free meditations. So what do you get in this 12-week program? So you get your 12 one-on-one sessions, as I mentioned, which is worth $1,164. Your 12 lessons, which is worth $1,300. It's a full 12-week program. Your meditations worth $197. A printable journal worth $27. Worksheets, which is according to each lesson, worth $189, and this is a total value of $3,877. So let's just take a look at the 12-week program outline. So this is the part where I said it could change according to you, but we are going to work on your emotional intelligence first because, like I said, I can work on all these other things, but if your emotional intelligence is not at the right point, it won't help you to work on all these other things. So we're going to do week 1 is the intake session, but there's also lessons and then the one-on-one call. Week 2 is developing emotional awareness part 1. This is quite a big lesson, so it's broken down in 2 parts, and also with your one-on-one call, and you'll receive worksheets that week. Week 3 is developing emotional awareness part 2, and your one-on-one call, as well as your homework and lessons. Week 4 is managing emotions, part 1. So this is where we're going to cover how you manage your emotions with your one-on-one call. And then again, week 5, we're going to do the rest of managing your emotions. Then week 6, we're going to take a look at empowered thoughts and beliefs and your one-on-one session. Week 7, stress reduction. How do you handle stress? And again, your one-on-one call. Then week 8 and week 9, we're getting to the best part, and this is where you take your power back, and then also your one-on-one sessions. Week 10 and 11, we're going to look at empowering relationships, and this is the part where we can really change according to whether you want to work on your self-confidence, mindfulness, or whatever it is that you need help with, as well as your one-on-one. So those lessons might change. And then week 12, we're going to look at goals and breakthroughs. And again, you're going to have a one-on-one session. So as you can see, this is a full-bodied, well-planned out 12-week program. And so because you are on this webinar, this comes at a special price. So this is half price. So your investment for this webinar will only be a one-time payment of $697. Or if you would rather pay in installments, you can take the $255 per month for 3 months. So after the 3 months program, it is paid. Let me just share the link with you. So please do not share this link with anybody else. It's only for the people who joined the webinar or those who are part of my email group. Still price. And today it ends Monday. Awesome, life-changing program. And so yeah, that's the special. So you get at half price. So this is the time to jump in and to just do this. But now I give you a free discovery call with me. So you can book your free discovery call. Let me just give you this link. You can book your free discovery call with me so that we can talk about, I can coach you through something, and then we can talk about the program and how it will fit in with you. So this is not a sales call. I am going to tell you about the program, but we're going to do coaching first. This will be a 30 to 45-minute call, and it's free. So you don't have to pay for this call. This is to say thank you for me, as well as for me to be able to help you. The main thing is not everybody is coachable. So in the discovery call, we will learn, we will discover each other, and we will see whether we can work together. And then we can work through any questions or anything that you might have. I look forward to seeing you on the discovery call, and then you can send me a message and let me know that you booked your discovery call. And so now it's time for the prize draw. This is the best part. It's worth $745. That is not working with the discount price, working with my normal price. And so with the prize draw, we're going to quickly, let me just change my screen share again. And let me see, can I choose? Oops. I almost threw myself out. Okay, so let me see. Tab. Yes, number picker wheel. All right. So as far as I know, you can see this wheel now. Okay, so let me just share this with you before I share the wheel. I should have shared this one with you. So I've got here all the names that are in the draw. So next to the names is a number. And so the person whose number is drawn will win this 6-week free coaching with me. So let's see, it's going up to number 18. Let's just see if yes, I've still got it up to date. And so this is the moment of truth. Let's see. So you can see I've got absolutely no control over who's winning. And the winner is number 14. So let's see who is number 14. Let me just share. Oh, I didn't share my screen. Okay, let me do it again. Or let me see. Oh man, this was the most exciting part and I forgot to share that screen. I need to change it. Okay, so it's on the number picker. So that's where number 14 won. So I'm going to keep it at number 14 because that's the first number I drew. Let me just write it down. And then I just want to show you how it worked. So this is not going to be the number. So this is how it worked. I spin the wheel. So I had no control over who's winning. And right. So that's how number 14 was picked. Okay, so let me just go back. All this screen sharing It's a lot of stuff. All right, so that was fun. So let's see who number 14 is. Number 14 is Lauren Bailey. So congratulations, Lauren Bailey. I will be in contact with you and share the information about how we're going to do your coaching. All right, so let's go back to the slides and see if there is anything left for us to say. Okay, so that was the exciting prize draw. This was the part I was looking forward to the most. And so that's done now. Okay, so I would like to say thank you for joining me. Did you find this webinar helpful? So I would like to just see before we leave if there's anyone who thought that they found this helpful. And did you enjoy this webinar? Okay, so while someone is typing, I just want to say a special thanks to the people who helped me with these slides. So one is the presentation templates, the amazing slides for Slides Carnival. I have to give them recognition for giving me the slides for free. If you do need to create slides, you can just go to Slides Carnival. It's free. You don't need to sign up. You just download the slides you want to use. And then the photographs was from Pixabay. Okay, yes, I found this very helpful. Thank you. I'm so glad you found it helpful, and it's so awesome. I love helping people, and it's my passion to help people. I'm sure you could see this all through the webinar. And so remember to go check out the special that is on until the end of Cyber Monday, as well as my Calendly link to go book your free discovery call with me. So I'm just seeing, is someone still typing? I don't want to cut off the webinar and cut off someone. Oh, yes, thank you. Congratulations to Lauren Bailey. It's always good to congratulate other people when they've won. And thank you. Thank you for sharing. And so it was so awesome. I almost don't want to stop the webinar because I enjoyed it so much. And thank you to each and every one of you who came to this live webinar. It was amazing to have you here. And I'll talk to you again soon. I'll let you know as soon as my next webinar comes out. And so, yeah, let me just see. So I'm going to stop this webinar and thank you so much. I wish you blessings in abundance. Bye. Bye. Thank you.